All right, what's up? This is Trevor P. And I'm gonna do something a little different today. Um, I don't even know how to explain this, but basically, there's this cycle that happens, and I believe it's like most countries like on Earth kind of follow this pattern of four stages, and it's called the four turnings. And I kind of just want to go over what that is and what that means for the future. And then at the end, I'm gonna have this little like rant. Like I kind of wrote a lot of words. I kind of just basically I wrote my thoughts out loud because I had been feeling like this for a while, and I just need to get it out. So if you can hear that for the second part, but I'm also just gonna go over the four turnings, what they mean, what archetypes are contained in them, how history kind of repeats itself, and we're gonna first start out with this saying: hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And that's basically the whole premise of the four turnings. Is just this saying right here, and it's weird, you know. But let's just look at what I wrote because I wrote like a script, but whatever. The U.S., along with other countries, follow a similar pattern when it comes to the transformation of the social, political, and cultural background. Um, it's a recurring four-cycle stage, like I said, and it basically follows this quote exactly. So that's why I'm showing the quote. So yeah, it's the four turnings, and the four stages are the high, the awakening, the unraveling, and the crisis. All right, so the first one that we're going to talk about is the crisis. And the crisis is probably at war with another country or enemy. The crisis generations have to sync up socially, politically, all that stuff with the country because they have to defeat their enemy. The last crisis generation we had was from 1922 to 1946. That's why I have the date up there. That generation includes such events like the Great Depression and World War II. An archetype that forms here from this era is the artist. The artist is raised overprotective, grows up to be an indecisive adult during... Oh, wait, hold on, I messed up. The artist is raised overprotective, grows up as an indecisive adult, and then becomes a sympathetic elder. So let me break that all down for you. So basically, what's going on in the crisis is basically hard times. So that's what's going on right now. So the latest example, I'm just going to explain what's going on with the examples because it really makes it easier. So 1929 stock market crash, and it was just really bad. Employment was getting more and more rampant as the years went on, and this usually during the crisis the families will get stronger. The culture is practical. They just need food and water, shelter. Like really, just like they're just very practical, very to the point. You know, they're just trying to get what they need. They don't get what they want per se. Socially, we're moving closer together, and we're becoming more of a community because of the hard times. We have to work together. We don't have time to be enemies. We don't have time to be arguing about political beliefs when you have no food on the table. So yeah, rising community is kind of the focus. You know, everybody's trying to get back in shape, you know. Especially with World War II, that really helped unify at least the U.S. And by the way, I'm talking, these examples that I'm using are just for the U.S. I'm not using other countries, but these do apply to other countries. So yeah. And then the archetype is the artist. Overprotective children, indecisive adults, and empathetic elders. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to go over the archetypes. They're really just like a popular archetype in that era, but they can still happen during any other time. It's kind of just like this is the most popular one. And the archetypes, by the way, they grow up in the era or the generation or cycle that I'm talking about. And yeah, so we got some pictures. I'll explain the pictures pretty much. It's just historic pictures of the crisis that was happening in America. You got the World War II pictures up here. Can I turn on the laser pointer? All right, yeah, here we go. And yeah, so you got World War II. World War II, probably I don't really know. This right here though is a really famous picture of the Great Depression. You know, you got the children are kind of just like huddling around the mother, and the mother's just like has this very like worried look on her face, like where are we gonna get like our next meal or something like that. This one also right here is famous. I mean, like they're just lining up to get food because there's really like no jobs. So for the unemployed, right there, you can see it. And also, I didn't even mention this, but the Dust Bowl also was happening during this. So crops just got destroyed. It was really bad. And yeah, it's basically the crisis. Is usually you falling on bad times, and you know that's what I was saying at the beginning with this quote. Weak men create hard times. So we're at the hard time stage right now. And then the next stage is the high. And then let me just read what I wrote right here actually. Then the US moved on to the high generation. The high is all about peace and prosperity. Excuse me. Is about recouping, and you are usually in sync with the country in a political and social sense. The last high generation was from 1946 to 1963. An archetype that forms is the prophet. The prophet grows up as a narcissistic child, a moralistic adult, and a wise elder guiding the next crisis. So let's just run down the examples real quick. So what was going on during this era? Well, we just won World War II, so everyone was super happy, and we made a lot of money. We created a lot of jobs because of this. Our army was the strongest in the world. So it really allowed for just this kind of like golden age, I guess, of just prosperity. So as you can see, families at peak strength. Cultural is innocent, I guess. And I guess that's the right way to put it. Yeah, is innocent. There's not really too many profane things. Like the 1950s were, and a little bit of the early 60s, but yeah, so the 50s were super just like orderly family unit, nuclear family, which is what I have right here is this nuclear family, 2.5 kids, you know, stuff like that. It's very orderly. The people like the government, which is another important thing. Socially unified. Maximum community. This is where community peaks, is at the high. And then the prophets, another archetype. And those are narcissistic children, moralistic adults, wise elders guiding the next crisis. And I think I guess two examples that I could think of that kind of apply maybe, that are prophets. I don't know if they exactly were born during the high generation, but some examples that I can think of are Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, because they became moralistic adults. And definitely for Malcolm, he's definitely a prophet, because he was definitely like a narcissistic and indulged child, because just of how he kind of grew up, just to not care about the rules. And he was a bad kid when he was in his teens and early adulthood. So it applies. And they both became very wise after a while. So yes, usually the high stage very innocent. Again, like they hated Elvis when he would do the hip thrusts. He would do this thing where he would like thrust his hips when he was singing on stage, and like the networks just hated that because they didn't think that was appropriate. So they eventually found out that they could just zoom in like more to his face, just so it doesn't show up, so it doesn't like get people riled up, because the culture is very innocent. Yeah. And they're very much controlled kind of by the government. Like, this is the thing, is that during the high generation, the government is in control, and the people do like the government because we just won the war, so there's no reason to oppose the government. I mean, we did a good thing. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I'll put on my sweater. I'm kind of cold. All right. Let's All right. Then the awakening generation comes. This is when people realize that the way we live actually sucks, and they begin to make pushes to better the social and political landscape. The last awakening generation was from 1963 to 1988. An archetype from this generation is the nomad. The nomads grow up as unprotected children, alienated adults, and strong elders. So, let's look at this real quick. So, what do you think of when you think of these years? Because this line of years is very, just there's a lot going on. The '60s, fucking, there's political shit. Like, let's analyze all the images, okay? So first up right here, I'm pretty sure this is Vietnam. Like, we're just going ham in there, and because it is the awakening, the culture is not appreciative. At least not the whole culture, but the culture is very split up, and people were protesting because of the wars that we were going into. The Vietnam picture right here, and then right here, this is some firemen hosing down some black people, because why the hell not? Yeah, and there's just a lot of shit. And right here is Woodstock. They're just chilling, And then right here is a smoking ad. Like, I just thought that was a funny thing that I could include. Like, it says, blow in her face and she'll follow you anywhere. That's hilarious. And then JFK, he got killed in 1963, and that really pissed people off. So that's kind of where the era starts. And by the way, the years are by no means like solitary. Like, you can really, it doesn't really matter what specific year it is, but it's defined. The spaces are defined by a 22-year split. So yeah. Okay. Anyway, so the families are starting to get weaker. Culture is passionate and socially breaking. So what does that mean? Yeah. So like I said in the beginning, the people are kind of getting tired of the way that they're living in these, like, if we go back, you can see that there's the cookie cutter houses, nuclear family. In the high, there's very much a sense of, like, do what the government tells you to do because it's the right thing, and that's fine. But then people kind of get sick of feeling like they didn't really have a choice in that, so they kind of get mad, and they do some bad shit. So they just try to look for more freedom, liberal freedoms, which is basically what happened in the '60s, '70s. We got Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, like I said before. What else? Yeah, and even the psychedelic movement too. That was also breaking away from the culture, because psychedelics, definitely at that time, they were definitely more seen as taboo and really just unexplored, especially with, like, people like Charlie Manson coming out of the woodwork and just really, like, I mean, honestly, I don't really know the history behind him, so I can't really talk about him. But yeah, I just know that he's probably took some psychedelics, and that really put a bad image on it. And then also Woodstock, that's just a huge, just like, you're gonna find drugs there. You're gonna find drugs. So yeah, socially breaking. So yeah, they're doing drugs, and passionate. So doing riots, all that, and rising individualism. This is where the communities start breaking down. And individuals now, not the individual, but, like, people are kind of breaking into their own groups, I guess. And then the nomads, unprotected children. So, like, because, if you think about the '60s, it was just, it was just kind of a mess, like I don't know, man. When I think of the '60s, I just think of like a fucking shit show. Like that's what I think of, because you could go. I remember I had a teacher, and he was kind of just talking to us about how when he was a kid, because he kind of grew up in this era, he could kind of just go wherever he want, and his mom would be like, okay, that's fine, just be back before dinner, which is basically when the sun sets. And it was, after that, it's basically on your own. And yeah, that's really what happened. The kids were really just could do whatever they want. Parents didn't really care. I mean, not that they didn't care. They just like it was different back then, definitely. Um, I think one example. I don't even know if he's one. I guess he does count. One example that I could think of. I don't think he was born in the '60s. He definitely wasn't born in the '60s, but George Carlin. I think of when I think of a nomad, just because he was really on his own. And if you look up interviews of him talking about his career, he felt like he was kind of just like segregated, because he was talking about how he was doing like comedy for these 40s, but he related more to these people in their 20s. So he was like kind of just in the middle at his 30s, and he was really alienated, like right here, alienated. And he did actually become a strong elder, because he really had a voice, and he really had a lot of followers. And his comedy sets, like when he was getting closer to his death, like they weren't even like, it wasn't even comedy anymore. He was just like just preaching, and he was just looking at inconsistencies with the world, which was just crazy. All right, so let's move on to the next stage, the unraveling. And the unraveling is the time when the culture starts to spread out even more. People pick sides and favorites. Everyone is in their own group. The last unraveling generation was from 1988 to 2008. An archetype from this generation is the hero. The heroes grow up as protected children, energetic adults, and powerful elders that are attacked during an awakening. So let's just look at this real quick. So I chose 1988, and I just chose that year because, like, when I think of when this like unraveling like officially started and it went mainstream, when the underground went mainstream, because if you look back, like this like gritty, like druggy kind of culture was definitely there in the awakening, but it was not mainstream. And then you go to 1988, which is the same year NWA drops Straight Outta Compton. And that's I think that's really like the tipping point of when like the culture went from like pretending to be like this good thing and like pretending to be nice to like, okay, nah, let's just do like cool shit. And this is really when like movies started really getting good, like Pulp Fiction, Fight Club, like it was really going insane. And like you can see right here, there's a clique of girls right here. That's just kind of to signify how everyone had their own groups, Yeah, even the music. If you just look at the music alone, like it was very diversified, because there was hip hop, there was pop, there was country. There's other stuff I'm forgetting, but yeah, it was really spreading out. Also, during this time, there was the rise of the internet. It's a little dial-up. Also, I put some like video games that were pretty, I guess, like that came out. We got the Aladdin video game for that NSCS, I'm pretty sure, and then Mario Bros. Actually, I think that came out before Unraveling, but whatever. It's Mario. Like it transcends turnings, so whatever. So family is at peak weakness. Culture is cynical and socially diversified. So that's basically what I was saying. Everybody's really just in their own groups. That's really what sticks out to me during this age. And then maximum individualism, that also counts with socially diversified. Definitely cynical. I can see how that works, because you look at the movies like fucking Pulp Fiction. Like, dude, that was such an edgy movie. So it was, yeah, that's basically what happened. And then heroes, it's an archetype protected children, collaborative and energetic adults, powerful elders. I'm trying to think of somebody that reminds me of a hero. Oh man, I don't even know. I can't think of anybody, but there's probably an example. If you have an example, leave one in the comments. I would love to read that. But yeah, Unraveling, pretty much I would say pretty much the culturally the coolest, because there's like so many other groups that you can go into that have like so much culture. But yeah, I mean, Unraveling. I don't know what else. I don't know what else to say. I mean, this is not that bad. I mean, actually, I should probably explain like how these cycles move on. Let's go back to the beginning. Yeah. So this is usually like there's like just a feeling, when you think of the turning. So like this is definitely like a bad feeling. When you're in a crisis, that's definitely a bad feeling. That's definitely a negative feeling. And then the high is definitely a good feeling. That's definitely something you want. This is like a good era. And then the next one, not so good. A lot of war, a lot of killing, a lot of inequality, stuff like that. And then this is a good era. This is nice. This is cool, And yeah, so I kind of just want to say that just to see like, okay, it goes bad then good, bad then good. Like it always does that. So let's go to the next part. So yeah, you can kind of see how these cycle around. So you go crisis, high, awakening, unraveling. Negative, positive, negative, positive. So they kind of all have that. Rising community, maximum community, rising individualism, maximum individualism. So it's really as simple as that, which is really funny to me, how human nature is just so easily like categorized in just these like simple ass terms. Obviously it's not as simple as this, but this really kind of dumbs it down, and it really gives you a lot of it's very comforting knowing this, because at the end of the day, whatever happens, it's always going to be something kind of predictable in the collective unconscious. So really it's nice to know that we're very like cyclical in our in the ways that we move, And let's just go to this next part, and this is our crisis. So this is the age that we're in, and 2008 to 2030, and I'm just saying, putting a question mark at 230, because it might go far. It might go more than that. It might go shorter than that. Like, we don't really know. So what is causing our crisis right now? So there's a couple things that we can look at. And by the way, this is just for the U.S. So like when I say coronavirus, I mean this is not including the whole world as a cycle, because that would just be too much. But so anyway, yeah. So some causes, we got coronavirus. Obviously, that's a disease, and it's really just making us shut down. And we're becoming more practical. Is what's going on. The culture becoming more practical, like in the other crisis stage, which was during the Great Depression. Like if we go back, and culture's practical. Families are going to get stronger, socially moving closer together. So this social one, though, is kind of worrying, because I think of that and I'm like, I don't know if that's really happening, because if you look at this GIF or GIF, I don't really even know how to say it, but it seems like we're becoming more and more divided, and that's why I have put this second cause as politics, because it seems like everybody just wants to have a civil war right now versus liberals and conservatives. Like look at this divide. Like look at it starting from 1994, and just look at it just spread out. And what I'm hoping is that as time moves on, these sides will kind of just move together, is what we're probably going to see eventually. You just got to be patient. And also another cause, crash of 2008. There was some stock market thing. I don't really know how the stock market works. I'm not going to pretend like I do, but yeah, there was something bad happened that fucked up the economy. Now we're getting a lot of inflation, which is really annoying. I fucking hate inflation. I don't know why, but just annoying. Let's raise minimum wage, and then they fucking raise the price of everything else. Like that's not helpful. Oh, people have more money, so let's just raise the price. Like, bro. Like we've basically made the penny useless, or any coins for that matter useless. But that's a different topic. So, yeah. And let me just point out these images. So yeah, coronavirus right here and right here, political divide. Also the riots and lootings. Obviously, that is a big thing we gotta point out. That's a political thing, and I'm just saying it's a political thing because racism right now, as it stands, is more of a political belief than really anything else. I mean, it definitely is bullying, but it can be bullying in some circumstances. But yeah, this like Black Lives Matter thing really just attributes and helps out the politics cause. So yeah, and this is my last slide, but I'm just gonna do a little read my rant that I wrote down, because I was like really in a mood when I was writing this, and I don't even know if I believe all the stuff I'm saying, but I'm just gonna read it out, and hopefully you guys stay with me. So let me just read it. We have been tricked by the appeal of being bigger than ourselves, by the distraction of politics. Oh wait, hold up, fuck. I started way too early, dang it. The stage we are currently living in is supposed to be at war with another force, but if you look around, the U.S. is not particularly at war with a specific nation. We are at war with each other. Left versus right. Liberal versus conservative. This is our war. A political war. A counter-argument would be to say we are in a race war. Race is another distraction which has been imposed by slavery. Racism is a political belief more than anything else. We have been tricked by the appeal of being bigger than ourselves, by the distraction of politics. Every 4 years, people gather far and wide, all over the U.S. to partake in a useless voting session, and every 4 years it has done nothing for us. No real change. My generation and the generation before me are stuck in believing in ideological bullshit. Terms, names, categories, classifications, divisions, levels, whatever you want to call them, are truly nonsense. Obviously, we want to feel important. We want to be part of the solution. We want to take part in something bigger than ourselves, but we've taken this road far enough. Who cares about equality when even nature doesn't present that to us? If you look at how our ecosystem sets itself up, there are always more prey than predators. The strong eat the weak. That's just how it goes. Both prey and predators struggle during their lives, but it seems to us weak-minded, brainwashed humans that we should end all suffering. That is not what I stand for, as this is an illusion. Us, the misguided fools, waste our time with equality but continue to play the victim. We are cemented in our mental castles, not letting any outside forces infiltrate, even if they mean to help us. This focusing on ideologies has made us humans weak, like it always does. We become more overconfident, more advanced, more arrogant, more cocky, to the point where the world gets angry and says, fuck that, I'm going to give you something real to be upset with. World War I, the French Revolution. Those are two examples of times when before the culture was overconfident and cocky. Once these disturbances happened, we became savage. To preface, I'm mentioning these two events because of something that happened after they finished. They both had a thing in common. A leader arrives out of the smoke and ashes and saves his people, Napoleon and Hitler. These two people came out of the devastation of what was World War I and the French Revolution. Somehow they garnered enough clout to be allowed to rule over their respective countries as kings. They are seen as the beacon of hope, the Christ-like figure that will fix what is wrong in the world and bring glory back to the hearts of the townspeople. This, of course, is a facade. Napoleon and Hitler failed because they were too confident for their own good. Ironic how the leaders during the rise out of the Unraveling still carry the vain and arrogant attitudes surrounding that era. This is what is going to happen to the United States, I believe. During a crisis, we need a leader, but our country is so divided by politics that we can't agree on a leader at the moment. Trump tried to be that, it didn't work. Biden will try to be that, it won't work. The person that will be the leader will be someone who resonates with all the people, and that includes libertarians and authoritarians. So, that's the end of the video. You can take what you want from what I just said. Really, this is just up in the air. I have no idea what's going on, and you kind of have to be a man to admit that, which is, I don't know why I said that, but yeah. So that's what's going on. If you like the video, like it. If you want more content, subscribe, because I probably will be doing another video similar to this vein. And yeah, that's pretty much it. See you guys later.